Welcome to She Sells Radio. I have the most amazing woman to introduce you to today. And if you've been listening to the show for the past several months, you've probably heard me interview some really, really cool people who I've met through the Salesforce Influencers program. And today I'm bringing you a woman who I met as really the wizard behind the program, who I got to know this year as the director of the Salesforce Influencers program. And she has since moved on to some other amazing initiatives that you're going to hear about today. But I was so blessed to get to know her in the time that we worked together in that program. And I'm so excited because I have learned so much more about what she's up to in the world and the incredible product she's created. And we're going to talk today all about that and her journey as an entrepreneur. So JoAnn Emale is the inventor of Maskee, a patent pending trademark beauty device that prevents makeup from getting on your clothes when changing, which holy moly, it's the thing that we all need that we didn't know we needed, as which you'll find out as we talk today. Entrepreneurship, experiential marketing, business operations, and promotional marketing are her specialties and have been the backdrop of her career. JoAnn, welcome to She Sells Radio. We are so excited to have you today.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. I feel like I hear like the imaginary hand claps going crazy right now. But I'm so happy to see you, Elise. Thank you so much for having me on. You look stunning per usual.
Thank you so much, as do you. If you're listening to the audio of the podcast, go check out the YouTube video because as we talk today about what you've created and your entrepreneurial journey, you'll see like you use your own product. You're a living example of it. And wearing gorgeous makeup and a white shirt, which I'm always, it's a challenge for most of us, right?
Yeah, it is. It's a challenge for many of us, for sure.
So I'm super excited to talk about Maskee and how you've used influencer marketing to grow it as well. But I want to give a little more context too to just you as a person. And when I met you earlier this year, like I knew you as just this amazing dynamic leader of our Salesforce influencer program, and really just your energy and how you made us all feel so welcomed, and you kind of orchestrated I think when you're managing that many personalities, like you have to have a special heart to be able to do that. And
For
you did.
sure.
So, but then I go on to find out all of these things about you and your journey, and you've got a background in pageants, and then you've invented this incredible product that's been out about a year now. And so I really want to hear more about kind of I know you've got this interesting mix of entrepreneurial journey and also being very successful in the corporate realm. Tell us just a little bit more of your backstory and kind of what led up to the invention of Maskee and where you are today.
Absolutely. So, like you said, my background is in experiential marketing, promotional marketing, and brand operations. But even more so before that, I've always been in beauty pageants. I competed in beauty pageants for 10 years. And if you know anything about beauty pageants, it costs a lot of money. So when you are looking for ways to cut costs, you're looking for sponsors for gowns. Now, the next thing they don't tell you when you have sponsored gowns is you need to walk in it like you're walking on eggshells because you can afford to get makeup on it. You can't afford to rip it because it's sponsored. So I would look around and see my pageant sisters. We would do the most chaotic things to get to prevent makeup from getting on our dresses, putting towels over our heads, some of us risking our lives and putting plastic bags over our heads. And it was like, what are for the sake of a
Wow.
crown? I was like, the determination was real, but the logic was absolutely missing. So I was like, what is a solution? Like, is there a thing? And of course you go Google like what's a makeup protector? Where is something to prevent makeup from transferring? And it's like there was no context around that. And I was
Mhm.
like, that's something I need to invent, if not for just my own personal gain, but for the help of my pageant sisters. And next thing you know, we curated Maskee. I drew it out on a napkin one day at lunch, and then I took it to my seamstress and was like, can you make this? And it took about 4 to 5 years for me to figure out the perfect formula of how it should be designed, how it should be laid out. We added customizations and elements to it because I realized I want everyone that utilizes my product to see it as a luxury device that helps them get through to an amazing opportunity or to get them prepared for their big day. So that's when I curated Maskee. And I say we a lot because my team has grown since then. It's been me for almost 4 or 5 years, but I'm blessed to be able to say it's we now. And Maskee is now in market. And, I showed you a bit earlier, but this is Maskee in its flat form. But Maskee, again, is just a see-through. You can breathe, it's breathable. You are able to wash it, so it's eco-friendly. It's also made with gold hardware, and it's just unique in itself because it allows you to really get in and out of your clothes without worrying about this coming off. You can see, you can have conversations, whether you're an everyday girl that wears makeup, or if you're someone that's a model that's going to a go see and you don't want to necessarily have to go in and out of clothes and worry about messing it up. This is something that helps prepare you for those big moments. And we launched in February, like you said, and it has been a whirlwind. And I'm just so elated to know that people are buying it, people are loving it, the testimonials I'm receiving. And yeah, Maskee is more than a beauty device. It's definitely a game changer.
Wow. Wow. Well, I want to speak to what it's been like since you launched. And I also want to go back a little bit to what you said, because you kind of made it seem like, okay, I had this idea, wrote it down on a napkin, boom, here it is. It's 4 to 5. And there's also this 4 to 5 year span when I can only imagine what that process was like. I haven't launched a product business. I've always done service businesses, but I know some of that journey when it's like you're going from the idea to conception phase. Were
Yeah.
there moments, I'm sure there were, but I want to hear from you. Were there moments throughout that process where you really doubted yourself? That's a long, 4 to 5 years is a chunk of time, right? To go from, I have this download to, okay, this thing is here now. What was that process like for you? And how did you continue to trust yourself throughout the process, even when it felt really hard?
Wow. So that is actually probably this is still something that I'm working through till this day. I think in entrepreneurship, and I think even offline, we talked about how you have so much doubt because you're always going into uncharted territory. And I don't know anyone that's an inventor. That's something that, growing up, we watch, we see all the ads seen on TV, infomercials, and you're like, oh, I could have thought of that. And it's like, now you're walking in the truth of those people that have done it. And it's like, this is more than just an episode of Shark Tank. This is like your real life.
Mhm.
And it's
Right.
like the doubt that I had to overcome. And on top of that, being an idea and not knowing, the patent process and having to learn how to patent a product. That's an expensive process. I didn't realize it. And that also is why there's not as many inventors in the world, because
Mm.
you don't necessarily have resources. They don't teach you how to invent things in school. They teach you how to learn and ideate, but they don't give you the process to do so. So there was a lot of doubt in with if this idea was even worth it. Is it something people would want? Is this something that, all of those things clutter your mind in the process of doing it, because of course you're still living your real life. You have to pay your bills, you have to be a friend, you have to be a sister, partner, whatever that may be. And the only thing that I always stood 10 toes behind was the fact that God gave me a vision. He
Mm.
gave me an idea. It's such a unique idea that it's something that that's beyond me. That came from God. And on top of that, I realized that this, like I always say, Maskee is more than a beauty device. I realize I can utilize the things that I need to create this product to create opportunities for others. So in
Mm.
doing so, I realized that Maskee has to be made overseas anyway, and we have to outsource many of our resources. And me being Nigerian and loving my country and having the pride of that, there's so much opportunity for employment for people in Nigeria and trade opportunities there. So my
Wow.
ultimate goal with Maskee is to help create job opportunities and economic stimulus in remote villages in Africa by teaching trade opportunities and manufacturing practices, so that way we can make it made in Nigeria, but also create opportunities for others.
Yeah.
So the doubt that festers around me every single day, I kind of have to shatter that because this is bigger than me. So I just know that my purpose lies within this, and I just have to have faith in that.
Wow, that's so powerful. And I have so much more appreciation for it as you talk now too, because even, in the launching of my brand, it's like it was uncharted territory for me, but like a lot of people have launched successful coaching businesses, right? So there's
Mhm.
that, but to what you're doing, this is brand new, right? And so I would
Yeah.
imagine, and everyone looks at it now and they're like, of course it's brilliant. And yet when it hasn't been created, I would just imagine there's sometimes the thoughts of like, well, has it not been created for a reason or blah, 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 right? Like those doubts kind of
Yeah.
creep in until it's there. And this is something I always tell my clients to do, because a lot of our listeners in our community and my clients, they're very much in their own version of the quantum leap and going into uncharted territory for them, whatever that looks
Mhm.
like for them. And so for a lot of them, it can be like whether they're launching their own business or they've just, we're a high-end coaching company. They've just invested what felt like a lot of money for them for coaching. And there's this fear of like, oh my gosh, like, am I really doing the right thing? Can I trust myself? And one of the things I always tell them is like, be very conscious of who you speak to and share your ideas with, because
Mhm.
if you're getting feedback and opinions from someone who hasn't done what you want to do, they're not necessarily going to be able to give you great advice, or they're going to put their limiting beliefs and doubts on you. So how
Yeah.
did you navigate? Were you like very conscious? Obviously, at a certain point, you got to tell everybody, but how did you
Yeah.
navigate maybe limiting beliefs from others as you were on your journey?
That was really hard, and I think that it's funny because I knew that I had to protect my intellectual property, but I didn't have the funding to do so right away. So in
Mm,
doing so, I had to be very selective with whom I share my thoughts and ideas with because of course, like they always say, I always joke and say, I was Beyonce about it. Like everyone has to sign an NDA. That's
yeah.
just what has to happen. This is all I have for you to sign right now. But it also, you have to use discernment and knowing who to talk to and understanding that I've always learned from a very young age that sometimes your family and friends are going to be the most limiting to your dreams because they care about you so much and they just want you to take the pathway that they know is going to be successful. It's easy to say, not that it's an easy thing to do, but it's easy to pick a pathway that's already paid for you. But when you have to go on a journey in charted territory that they have no, like my parents have no idea what an inventor's process is like. So I
Oh,
really didn't have anyone to relate to or mentors to really go look up to. So I really had to just trust the people around me, then also realize that there's so many different elements to building a brand that I can lean on other people for mentorship and guidance. So it's like my friends that were in finance, I would go to them like, hey, how should I put my things, how should my business affairs be handled? I would go to some of my mentors that were great with public speaking and saying, hey, what's the best way to pitch my
mm,
product? And utilizing my tribe and my resources of people that I know that are skilled in the top of their expertise allowed me to have more confidence in what I was building. Because then the more you tell people, of course, the first time you hear it, it's like, oh, that's Maskee, the beauty device that prevents makeup from getting on your clothes when changing. Everyone's like, huh, interesting. So is it like a spray? Is it like a cloth? It's like, no, it's a beauty device. Then that opens the door for that conversation. But then you realize, okay, how can we continue to build upon this? How can we continue to build resources and understanding? And that's kind of how I was able to do that and navigate it. It's just using my tribe, building my resources, and trusting my instincts around who am I talking to and what's their purpose in understanding what I'm doing and just allowing the people to fill me up that continue to fill me up. I think that people underestimate the power of a simple text message like, I see you, girl, keep going. And those are
mm.
the things that keep me going. And or my friends, like literally, we could have a low sales day, and I'll see a sale come in from one of my friends from overseas or from the East Coast, and it's like those are the things that push you forward.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say, a couple kind of pulled together from your past few answers. One is trusting whatever your spiritual connection is, trusting that download, trusting that vision. This is something greater than me. And I think everyone who's cr- had a brilliant breakthrough, a genius idea, they all like when they are humble, like you, they say the same thing, like, I know this came from something greater than me, and really trusting in that. And then two, going to like leveraging the resources you do have, going to
Mhm.
experts for specific feedback in the areas they've already where they already are experts, and then looking for the good, right? So just kind of building off those wins. Hey, we got a sale today, like, or we got a text message today, which I do too as an entrepreneur, right? It's like it's always a little bit different. Every day is a little bit different. Um, so I'd love, so you shared that since your product release, since Maskee released, it's been a whirlwind, which I'm sure it has. I'd
Yes.
love to hear, tell us a little bit about, I know one of the big things you've done is leverage influencer marketing, and clearly like if Salesforce also hires you to run their influencer marketing program, you know something about influencer marketing. So
Right.
can you share with us, I want to hear about the overall journey since you launched, but I also want to hear specifically, what have you done? Like, how have you leveraged influencer marketing specifically to help you grow the brand and reach of Maskee?
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I've always loved about marketing is the impact that it makes when you properly place your product in the right hands. And the
Mm,
number one thing we have to realize is influencers rule the world at this point. I remember 2 years ago, someone was telling me, they're like, TikTok, that's going to be the app that's going to really change the way Gen Z is going to shop and our new buyers are going to come in. Ultimately, when you trust someone, your viewers and the people that support She Sell, they trust your insight, they trust your expertise. You influence. The influencer, the base word is influence. Who makes an impact? How can you make a change? And so I realized very quickly that some of the biggest brands in the world have stood on the backs of influencers. We look at brands like Fashion Nova, Gymshark. Think of some of your favorite brands. And 9 times out of 10, if in the past 2 years, especially since the pandemic, you are most likely connected with that brand through an influencer. It's no
mm,
longer, people aren't necessarily watching television like they used to the point where you're, seeing commercials every day like you used to, or, you can go outside and see billboards. Now your consumers are in their phone. And so,
mm,
influencer marketing, I realized that when you build out programs and build out systems that allow people to not only build communities to feel seen, you show people that connect with them on their level, you meet the consumer where they're at. It's no longer just trying to build an ideal of, for example, body positivity. It's no longer just an influencer that just fits one supermodel aesthetic. We now have people that fit all molds and all body shapes, and they influence those people in those particular ways. So with influencer marketing with Maskee, we've been able to tap in with different people that connect with the brand. Maskee is unisex. There's men that work in the fashion and film industry. And when they're in those industries, they have to change clothes as well. They need to prevent makeup from getting on their clothes. The everyday girl that's getting ready for work in the morning or for a podcast, we both have on white today. We
yeah.
probably went through different struggles to get that outfit on. And with influencer marketing, it's saying, hey, I recognize my demographic. And instead of me just putting my product out there for the world, I'm being very strategic in how I'm going to approach them. So very similarly to how we met with through the Salesforce Influencer program, the premise was saying, hey, we want the thought leadership of the best, and we want them to co-sign us because they're going to believe in our brand just as much as we believe in them. So
Mm,
whenever you have those, I always say those presidential cosigns, whenever you have a superstar, a Beyonce using your product, how many people are going to buy your product because they simply saw the influence and impact Beyonce was able to make using it? How
mm,
about the people that, you know, uh, Michael Jordan, literally, he hasn't played basketball in 20, 30 plus years, yet his shoes still sell out every single holiday season.
mm.
That's influence. So whenever you're talking about influencer marketing, especially with everything being so digital now, that is the key to success in sales. You have to meet your consumer where they're at, and your consumers are now living a vast majority of their life in their phones and literally remotely in their homes.
Wow, for sure. Now I'm curious because there's a lot of really obvious applications for product-based businesses. And I know a lot of our listeners are also service-based, whether they're
Mhm.
an entrepreneur or whether they're in sales. How does someone who's in a service-based role, how do they approach influencer marketing? Can it work for them? What would that look like? I could love your perspective on that.
Absolutely. Again, the beauty of digital marketing and influencer marketing is that you can approach it so many different ways. So
Mhm.
when people are saying like, okay, how am I going to promote my service? Showcase your service. Your
Mm,
service in itself, how you're actioning your service is the product itself. You can be your own product. For example, I have friends who are estheticians. What's the number one? You can literally pick an influencer and say, hey, I would love for you. Let's say you do lashes. hi, you have 100,000 followers on your Instagram, and you seem to love makeup and beauty. I would love to have you come in and test out my services, or we come up with a contract or deal, and I want to utilize you as a model to showcase my services. And then now someone else can say, I had a great experience working with them. That service worked for me. Whether even if you have a digital product service or a CRM and you want to promote that, it's like, have someone utilize it and talk about how they used it. That's showing their influence, because I trust Elise. She sells, and I listen to her podcast. And that's an experience that I gained. And I'm going to refer that person to someone, or I'm going to make a TikTok about these are the 5 things that I did to help amplify my set of my best sales practices. One, listen to the Elise Archer podcast. They go to your podcast. It's all interconnected. That's
Mm,
how influence works. It's not just about where it starts at, but it's how it continues to perpetuate. So
wow.
that can go from service to products. I think that oftentimes people get in their head like, I offer my skills. I don't necessarily have something tangible. Your skills are more tangible than you think. Showcase your work, showcase your experiences. If you're an event planner, show the process of putting your event together and have an influencer share that on their timeline and
Mm,
saying, hey, I was just at an event that looked really cool. This was the event planner. Influence connecting. It's all about cross collaboration and building communities of like-minded individuals. And that's the key to success in influencer marketing.
wow. Those are great examples. So it's really, no matter what you're doing or selling, there's a way to leverage this, is what I'm hearing you say.
Always a way to
That's
leverage it.
creative.
There's
Yeah. Yeah.
always.
Yeah. So I'm curious about the outreach to an influencer. So let's say that somebody's listening and they're like, okay, this is something I haven't really thought about yet for my brand.
Mhm.
Totally see the application. Where do I even start? So let's say, like, is there a certain kind of, there's so many different quote unquote categories of influencers now, for micro influencers, and you know more about it than
Yeah.
I do. Is there a certain kind of tier we should be looking at when we start, depending on what our current audience is? And then the follow-up question is, how do we make it a win for the influencer? So maybe speak to where to start, and then we'll talk more about the actual approach.
Okay, so when you think about where to start when it comes to influencer marketing, you have to really think, okay, like you said, is it a micro influencer or a macro influencer? I'm going to be the first to be quite bold and candid. 9 times out of 10, if you see influencers now know their worth now more than ever, because we're disseminating that information to each other saying, hey, this is my worth now. It's no longer like, hey, can I just send you a free product? You post me, cool, I got a free, Maskees are $30 right now for Cyber Monday. So it's like, here's a $30 product, but you're about to make me $10,000 because you posted on your timeline. There
Mm,
has to be some mutual trade-off in it, in all of this. It's still a business. And
yeah.
so when it comes to influencer marketing and saying, okay, who am I going to pick to promote my brand? How am I going to build upon that? It's like, okay, let me figure out how this person likes to be approached. Not
Mm,
every influencer is going to check their DMs. I'm not going to slide into Beyonce's DMs and say, hey, I have a great product. Now, do we have those unicorn moments that happen when you're like, okay, this person answered their DMs, and we've seen, fairy tale stories happen. But if you want to approach an influencer, you have to kind of meet them where their guidelines are at. There's some
mm,
influencers you can tell that they've built their following for the pure joy of just loving to create content. You can possibly approach them and say, hey, can I just send you a product, and can we cross collaborate? I'll share your content and share your posts and share the things that you're creating with my audiences that you haven't tapped into. And you can share my product with yours. And now we're both creating content. Oftentimes, one of the biggest struggles for entrepreneurs is finding ways to create content. Now I'm outsourcing that for assistance. You needed this product, and now I have the footage of someone utilizing that. I actually saw a fashion stylist working with fashion model Lori Harvey, and she had on an all-white, off-white Virgil Abloh outfit. And that's at this point, it's one of those pieces you can't mess up. And he had all types of things on her face to help her get her outfit on.
mm.
And luckily, I was like, let me screen grab those pictures. And I sent it to him and said, hey, I have a solution that could work for you, that could help. Let me send this to you. Sending that email. It's all sales. Everything in any industry is sales. just like you're reaching out to an influencer, we're trying to sell our product to them just as much as they want to, because they want to showcase it as well. So, you have to meet them where they're at. You have to, of course, go at it with tact and strategy. Of course, sometimes your first go around, you might ask, you might not hear back, just like in sales, second time, even the third time. But you have to really just figure out who you're trying to approach and figure out how to approach them. If I know that you like chocolate, but I come to meet you with Skittles, you're going to be like, thanks, but it's candy, but it's not, doesn't see the benefit for me. But if I approach you and say, hey, I know that you have a beauty brand. I'm a budding beauty brand that has a product that you can utilize in your videos to create a lot of buzz. It has a unique appeal. It's going to get people talking. Let's figure out a way to work together. Then we can start creating. And that's when the group think happens. And that's when you blossom into a beautiful, cohesive influencer partnership. So again, just knowing who you're trying to reach out to, figuring out the best way to approach them. There's, that you get more bees with honey. So go about it strategically, just like a true salesman would. Watch the She Sells podcast, get some tips on how to sell yourself, and you can get influencers to promote your brand.
Wow. Wow. I love that. I mean, those are best practices in sales all the time, right? So personalize, like have the kind approach, think about the person and what's most of impact to them. So it's what I'm hearing you say is it's not really all that different. Now, I'd love your opinion on this because I know a lot of influencers will charge money, right? So is that something we should be prepared to invest in? And I'm assuming it all depends on who the person is and the platform, but that's probably a lot of what might be asked when you reach out is, hey, here's my fee to share. What does that look like?
Absolutely. It's just as candid as walking into McDonald's and seeing the prices on the menu, And the thing is about influencer marketing, influencers followings change every single day. So there's a rapper, Fat Joe, that say yesterday's price is not today's price.
Huh.
And that's what you have to learn with influencers is they literally are always 10 seconds away from their next viral moment. So that same influencer that could have said, hey, my budget is, to make a 1-minute reel is $75, right? Cool. I started making an influencer list and started putting their pricing down and saying, okay, influencer A, she costs, $3,000 for a 2-minute video, but their platform has 20 million followers. Influencer B she's charging me $50 for this post. She has 10,000 followers, but she can probably convert to 10, 15, 20 sales. Sometimes you have to weigh the pros and cons. And also you can't even get caught up in the followers. You actually need to start looking at the engagement that they have with their audience, because just because there's actually a viral post going around where there was an influencer who has 3 million followers and she hosted a meet and greet and no one showed up. So that also to the point, there's also a little, you kind of got to really learn your influencer to know like, okay, does this influencer have a big following because, they had one big hit back in 2016 that got them 3 million followers out of the blue? Or do they have active and engaging followers? And it could be someone with 10,000 followers that gets you more sales, but they hit your price point and saying, okay, I can afford to spend $500 on this 1-minute reel because I'm going to get my ROI back, because last time she sold t-shirts for brand XYZ, they made that money. And these influencers know their worth. So they're making decks as well saying, these are the impressions I get on a day-to-day basis. These are the screen grabs from my Instagram. This is what happens when I post at 12 o'clock. If you don't want to post at 12 o'clock, maybe I can post you at 8 p.m. It's going to be a little cheaper, but at least you'll get some form. So you kind of have to weigh your options and know where you're at. And then also don't underestimate the power of guerrilla marketing and getting up and coming influencers to work with you, because now the playing field, especially on social media, isn't necessarily about who has the most followers, but who taps into the algorithm correctly and with the most innovation and creativity. So influencer marketing is a lot of instinctual practices. It's a lot of watching. It's a lot of knowing your industry and who's within it, so you know exactly who to tap in with, because you could throw thousands of dollars away and say, hey, let me post on TMZ or post on People Magazine's page and see what happens. But you want to know whose engagement really fits your audience to see that ROI.
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh, so much brilliance there. And I love, I mean, truly it's like having the spreadsheet, right? Having kind of tracking and looking at what are all my options just to learn to kind of like navigate the landscape and
Yeah.
what's going to get you the best ROI. Brilliant. So thank you for, I think, giving us a really good like influencer one-on-one marketing strategy. Because I know for a lot of my listeners, we've got a lot of listeners in sales. We've also got a lot of listeners who are entrepreneurs who are just thinking creatively about what are some different ways to get the word out about what I do. Maybe they're tired of the launch, they're just tired of launching and they're like, I want to do something different, right? Or they want to do it, but they want to grow their audience. So these are all just, I think everyone can take something from this and apply it. I would love to ask one final question and then have you tell everyone where they can go to get Maskee, to learn more about you as well. So we talked about how you've trusted your instincts as you've gone. And I really love what you shared about just knowing that the vision is from God and from something greater than you. Um, and I also love to look kind of in hindsight with like, what did you need to know 4 or 5 years ago that you now know? So speaking and thinking about to your younger self when this was just that kind of fledgling idea that was written down on a napkin, what did younger JoAnn need to know that you sitting here as your future self can tell her today?
I would definitely tell younger JoAnn to trust the process and to be patient. I
Mm,
think that when you're on any journey in life, whether that's trying to get to the next level or finding yourself or finding your pathway, you lack patience, especially if you're a goal oriented person. Usually people that are in sales or are in marketing, you have to have a hustler's mentality because no one's coming to save you, right? No one's coming to make that sale happen for you but you. So if I could go back in time and tell my younger self, I'll say be patient. Surround yourself with people that are like-minded, that understand your vision and can help actually fill your cup up with encouragement and with tangible tools and resources that you can use. I would
mm,
also say to always, of course, I think the excitement of entrepreneurship is coming out the gate and saying, I'm an entrepreneur, I work for myself, but to know that you're always a student. You are forever a student in this. Every day you learn something new, whether you know it or not. And I
mm.
think that I would just tell my younger self to just get ready to embrace being a student and learning and being humble and understanding that you're going to be you are HR, your accounting, your social media, you're going to be a lot of you for a while, but it's going to build up the intel that you need to be the perfect person for we later.
Yeah.
So I would just tell myself to be patient, stay the course, and to continue to believe in yourself because again, it's what you put in your mind that's going to keep you going.
Oh my gosh. Wow. This was powerful for me. Thank you. You shared a lot, not just from I mean, the tactical elements, my wheels are spinning about, wow, like there's a lot we could really do here by leveraging influencer marketing. And then beyond that, just the inspiration of your journey and how you've continued going and trusting yourself and to see just the blossoming of running with that vision and going with it and continuing to trust it and persevering even when you did doubt and seeing what you've created in the world today. It's really exciting. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story and sharing your wisdom as well. And I'd love, JoAnn, if you could tell everyone where can they go to get a Maskee, because I'm gonna go get one. Everyone's gonna want to go get one. I'm looking at your white shirt and my white shirt, like your white shirt definitely doesn't have makeup on it. And I'm pretty sure mine does right now. So
Yes.
where can they go to get your product? And then also how can they connect with you from here?
Absolutely, absolutely. So Maskee is sold right now exclusively at themaskeeshop.com. By the time we actually speak again, this will be at Amazon. We'll have our Amazon marketplace up and running as well. We're a part of the Amazon Black Business Accelerator program. So Amazon is backing our brand as well now. So that's exciting news for us as well. So you guys, but for right now, just know www.themaskeeshop.com. You can follow us on Instagram at The Maskee Shop. You can follow me, whether it be on LinkedIn at JoAnn Emale, and of course, connect with me on all my social medias at jojo.emale.
Amazing. Thank you again so much, JoAnn. This was so fun. And I've loved getting to know you as a person, love your heart. And
Thank
I'm
you.
just so excited for what you're doing. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. And thank you again for sharing, allowing me to have this space to speak about something so important to me and for always being so kind and gracious to me and in my journey as well. So I wish you all the best, Elise, because you truly deserve it. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. To you, my listener, go get yourself a Maskee. I swear, like, I can't wait to start using mine because I'm literally like, how did we live before this? So,
It's a
so
game changer.
I know. I'm so excited for that. So go get yourself a Maskee, connect with JoAnn on social, and also kind of just to see her journey and see how she continues to grow. And you'll be so inspired by her. So thank you as always for being a listener of She Sells Radio. So grateful for you. And I'll see you on our next episode.